Resilience is a new word in management speak and certainly not something talked about at the beginning of my career. I did the saboteur test that Hilary sent to me, and I was shocked to find that the saboteurs are created in childhood. So it was no surprise to me to know that I was a hyperachiever because I felt that as a child that I would only be approved of if I succeeded. And the things that resonated with me is that I don't linger over failures. I only feel worthy if I'm successful, and I feel I must be efficient and effective. But that also makes me resilient, and I find that by focusing on results when I'm at work or getting things done at home, and also by every time something goes wrong, I'm always looking for the silver lining in every cloud. I don't linger over the cloud itself. But those close to me will know that when they're down, I will be focusing on what they should be doing, and I'm always trying to give them solutions. But I am starting to learn that it's enough just to listen. So please bear with me. Thank you.
So we've been asked to do a piece on what is resilience, and I was just thinking, I've just done a presentation for a client, and I was the only woman on the call, and at the start of the call I left my desk to go and shut the blind because it's really sunny today, and I could hear a colleague in earshot, because everyone was talking before the meeting started on Zoom, and he said, Amy looks like she's wearing a dressing gown. And I'm not, I'm just wearing a dress. And I was thinking about an interview with Jurgen Klopp yesterday before the Liverpool-Man United game, and he said confidence is like a flower. You stand on it and it crushes it, and it takes a long while for it to grow. Well, resilience is probably building that flower out of concrete or something. I don't know. I mean, it's like not to let those little niggly comments get to you. And yeah, it got to me, and I'm annoyed at my colleague saying that. So perhaps my resilience needs to be better. But at the same time, don't let those comments squash your flower. Remain resilient, and you are awesome.
So, thinking about resilience, I thought the exercise of trying to identify your saboteurs and the people or the things that would stop you succeeding was really good. And I guess perhaps an addition is hints and tips of how to be more resilient. For me, one of the biggest things was preventing my week deteriorating, particularly towards the end of the week, because I was tired. And when I was tired, I started getting bugged by wrong emotions. So one of the things I tried to planfully do was plan to not get tired at the end of the week. And often that was by having sort of 3 fairly big days, and then being a bit kinder to myself on Thursdays and Fridays. So I sort of planned my week better. I also tried very hard to not take on too much stuff to do in achieving any goals, and particularly if there was a new project, trying to work out who and how could best achieve things rather than it having to be me that had to do it. So it was a bit of stop and think, and making time to stop and think and plan. That definitely helped. And then the other thing that helps me is there are always jobs to do every day that you don't want to do, you put off, that are kind of like they're not wanted to do jobs. So I now think each day, what's the best time of the day for me to do them, and when I have done them, to reward myself. So those are my tips.
So I never actually needed to do the saboteur test to know that one of my biggest triggers and one of the reasons why I react in certain ways is my desire and my need to keep people happy and to make people think of me as a good and nice person. So finding out that my sort of top rating was as a pleaser really didn't come as a surprise. What was quite surprising is how this can actually have a negative effect on other people, and the negative effect that it will have on me as a result. So putting myself under that sort of constant pressure to make sure everything goes smoothly, make sure that everybody's happy around me, doesn't make them feel good about themselves, and also makes me feel extremely stressed. And then when things go that that mean I can't keep people happy, the knock-on effect that has on me and my ability to deal with things can actually be really negative. So one of the things that I sort of hope to gain from these types of sessions are actually some tools around how do you sort of break those negative chain reactions, especially to a trait which can be seen as quite a positive thing, because obviously everybody wants to be kind and thoughtful. But it's really important to understand actually that protecting people from their own mistakes or their own errors isn't being kind and thoughtful, it's actually quite damaging to them. And so hopefully that is something that, as I sort of develop and grow within my career, I can learn to break that negative chain reaction.
Being resilient in the workplace implies that you're able to accept criticism without taking it personally or being able to adapt when the situation changes. I completed the saboteur assessment, which laid out the ways in which my mind becomes my worst enemy. I didn't know what to expect, but I was surprised at how accurate the results were. I know that I'm a perfectionist and I definitely suffer from imposter syndrome. I set incredibly high expectations of myself, as though I need to prove that I am meant to be where I am. I rated 8.8 out of 10 as a stickler, 8.8 out of 10 as a hyperachiever, and 8.1 out of 10 as a pleaser. In September, I joined Paragrica as a permanent employee after completing a 2-year graduate scheme, and my new role was taking over from someone who was on the cusp of retiring. Initially, I thought this overlap would be beneficial for handing over the ropes, etc., but I found that they did not want to let go, and I was left with very little to do on a daily basis. As you can imagine, given my traits, I felt a huge amount of self-doubt and anxiety about not working anywhere near my capacity and worrying what people were thinking about the work that I was doing. I eventually spoke to my manager about my concerns, and he had noticed the colleagues' reluctance, but also went over and praised me about how quickly I've managed to understand everything and plan upcoming releases, and kind of said that I was doing more than he thought I would be. And this had never crossed my mind. I simply thought that I wasn't achieving what I or anyone else expected of me. It's very interesting to think how I would approach this scenario, a similar scenario, knowing that my thoughts are simply my mind kind of playing the saboteur. And going forwards, I will definitely strive to find resilience to recognise, accept and process my thoughts and behaviours with colleagues.